Now this video will contain some of the mistakes. There is always more mistakes being made, but these are some right off the top of my head. So let's get to it. Hello everyone, it's Rob. Hopefully I'm going to stay on track today, not have too many squirrel moments, and not rant and rave, and talk to you about the mistakes I have made about becoming a homesteader. Farmstead, farm, whatever. Rural living, let's say that. Let's talk about some of the mistakes I've made. Some of the mistakes, one of the number one mistakes, is not sitting around for a year and seeing what happens. We jumped right into it. We jumped into it right away. Probably should have sat back and thought about certain things or see what happens, but we didn't. We jumped right into it. That's a mistake. It's a common mistake. A lot of homesteaders make that mistake. I am go walk around a lot. And that's one of the biggest mistakes we did, is we just jumped right into it. We overloaded ourselves. We didn't do some of the things we do best. And that's where we've made a mistake. Number two, overloading the land with animals. And it's not so much land, it's overloading your infrastructure. Don't overload it. Just because your land volume can handle it doesn't mean that your infrastructure can. The place we're at has a small barn on the back, some stalls, and we built, of course, the goat house over there, and we have a goat line, we have a back pasture, which is for sheep. But the problem we have right now is that we have bucks and female does in together, and they've been together for a while. And that's fine, because you kind of need a return on your animals, so we kind of moved in and pushed the return fast. I'll get to that. But we don't have a separate lot for the bucks. We don't have a separate lot for the rams. We let them run together. So we're kind of like essentially open breeding, but the problem is we're making it hard on the bucks. We're making it hard on the does for the goat side. The sheep, they deal with it a little bit better. The Katahdin sheep, they do go into heat and they will breed throughout the year, but they kind of really, I've been noticing, cycle into seasons. They're kind of like a Kiko goat or a meat goat, where, you know, really there's a breeding season for them. That's when they produce or reproduce. So that's a mistake we've made. We've just have overloaded the land and not having separate pens. Can we have separate pens? Yes, absolutely. And that gets to point number three. Don't overspend. Go into homesteading debt-free as possible. We pretty much did that. Very little debt, not a lot of overhead, not a lot of bills, but we have increased the amount of debt we have now. And that's not good. Try to keep your debt low as possible, if none at all. If I didn't have certain debts that I have to pay, I could probably create a lot for those rams and for those bucks. And people might later on leave a comment, you know, how could you do this and that? Hey, we made a mistake. We admit to our mistake. But we're working around it, and we do the best we can for these animals. Part number four. Even though we moved in right before winter, we didn't really have the animals on the property. We had some chickens, but there was no goats, no sheep, no pigs. We didn't prepare enough throughout the year for winter coming. So it kind of puts us in a pinch. And this is something you got to think about. Hey, first winter and I got 4 goats. Okay, well, those goats have to go somewhere in the winter. They're not going to go out in the pasture, so to say. You can, but you might need a dry lot. You might need an area where they stay during the winter, a small pen, because they need to be close to shelter. They need a place to have a feeder, and you don't want them really out in your pasture destroying it. Even though goats have a lower impact on pasture, when mud season, which there's mud season here a lot, you don't want to have them compact the soil a lot when it's really wet. So we're creating one soon here, but that's something that you should think ahead of time. So we're going in it at the last minute instead of already having it in place. Hey, we're going to set this up, then when we get the animals, it's there. We can use it. We can use it to separate the bucks and the rams from all the ewes and the does. See where I'm going there? All right, another one. Understand the house you're moving into, or whatever it may be, ranch, barn. I know it's very popular now for people to build pole buildings and create it into a house. I think that's a great idea. I think it saves money, leaves a very open space. It's great for homesteading. It's great for a family environment. You still have separations, but you have large areas. So this and that, but I'm getting a squirrel moment, so I'll move on. But know the house you're moving into. The house we moved into was formerly Amish. It was originally a farmstead for years, and the Amish moved into it. Of course, electricity was put back into it, and there's certain things inside the house that are still from the Amish era. I shouldn't say Amish era. It's from the Amish living. So we have we have gas lamps in the house, and those gas lamps have mantles. It's just like an old Coleman lantern, and it runs on propane. Those are great for these really cold mornings. They're just coming around, like, I don't mean cold, I mean like 30, 40 degrees, but it was like 60, 70 degrees during the day. Well, those lamps will kind of take the chill out of the air, but they also provide light. So make sure when you're moving in, your propane's filled, or gas, or whatever you have. If you are near municipal stuff, well, you don't have to worry about that. But we're talking about rural living here. When we came in, our tank was at 80%. We are almost a year into it, and it's down to about 25% now. So we got to put about 50% in it. That'll get us through the winter, and probably a little bit extra. The only times that house uses that propane is for the gas lamps and the water heater. That's it. Everything else is electric, which is another thing. If you're municipal living and you didn't have electric appliances anymore, be prepared for that electric bill. Be prepared that you probably don't have air conditioning in your rural living house, or maybe you do, but a lot of stuff is electric. Your electric bill is going to skyrocket. Now, ours is pretty decent. We don't use a lot of electricity in the house. We're very efficient with it. All my lights in my garage, shop, work area are all LED. All the lights in the house we went through and made sure they're all LED, so they use a little less energy. We did put some modern appliances in it, so that helps it too. And our bill's around $140, which isn't a big deal. That's kind of normal. But it's also because we're doing certain savings. And we will also cook on a grill, which keeps that electric bill down too. But yeah, it works on your propane tank or your propane cylinders that you buy. But you can look at the cost and whatever on those. What else can we learn from my mistakes? A lot of things. Gardening. I was kind of known to be able to garden and grow a lot of things. I was kind of known to grow a lot of tomatoes. I don't do that this year. And maybe that's the one thing I sat back and didn't do. I didn't overburden myself. Maybe that's the point. Don't overdo it. Don't go for it all the first year. Really don't. My garden is an absolute mess. It's almost an embarrassment. Let's see. There it is. See all those nice weeds? Yeah. That's my garden. Goats got into my strawberries. They ate them all. So I didn't work on that. Rural living. Get used to gunshots. People shooting their guns. People hunting. People driving UTVs and ATVs down your road. Especially if your state or township allows it. We're on an actual ATV route. So they ride up and down the house at all times, especially during hunting season. So if you're from the city and you want it quiet and you think it's going to be quiet all the time, it isn't. You're going to hear those shotgun blasts. You're going to hear those long gun blasts. You're going to hear people doing things. You're going to hear those four-wheelers. There's a YouTube channel, the Kramer Life. They've been looking for property for a very long time. And the one lady had, or the wife had a lot of things that she didn't want. She wanted rural living and she wanted all this acreage, but she couldn't handle the UTV sounds and the ATV sounds and the gunshots. A lot of people always commented and kind of trolled her, saying, what do you expect? You're living out in the areas where you kind of police yourself. And that's how it is. The police here is the state police. They're not going to get here in time. You have to police yourself. But these are things that you got to learn about. These are things that you're going to need to get used to. So if you're coming from a small town, you kind of already have a certain standard already. If you're coming from the city, you're determined to start a homestead because homesteading is the big thing, or it's what you want to do, be prepared. All right. Point number 6. Make sure you have the machinery you need for your plot of land. We're on just under 6 acres here. Like I said, we got it in winter, so we had time to have stuff for spring and fall, or spring and summer. We did go winter without anything to plow snow. That's why we got a tractor now to plow snow. I just got to get a plow. We kind of held off on getting a lawnmower, lawn tractor, and we got one and the grass was really long and it took a while to get the yard back into shape, but yard isn't really my main interest. But have money set aside for that, or have something already. Just because you're starting a homestead doesn't mean that you have to go out and spend 20 grand on a brand new John Deere mid-size tractor, or a Massey Ferguson, or a Kubota, Coyote, any of those things. You don't have to. I mean, if you buy 20 some acres, thanks Bullwinkle. Buy 20 some acres, you're going to have some equipment ahead of time. Don't go in there and have nothing and then think that you're going to keep up with that. The Battle Royal insist. So, seriously? Why? Recording. They don't care. Okay, I need to move. One of those things, though, is like, you buy 20 acres, you're not going to keep up. You're going to need someone with a brush hog. You're going to need a mower of some sort. So, have that already in place. And, like I say, you don't have to run out and buy brand new. Go out and buy a Ford 8N. Go out and buy an old International, Cub Cadet. Anything that you have with a decent sized deck for the land you need. If you're like us, really, we only have to mow about an acre. We don't need a large lawnmower. What we need is the 530, which we use. And that 530, has an aggressive tire on the back, 54-inch deck. It allows us to do things beyond mowing grass. Yes, we can unhook the mower deck and we can hook the one disc harrow up to it and pull it, and it pulls fine. We can actually hook up a hay rack to it and move the hay rack with it. It's kind of a struggle, but 50 bales on the neighbor's hay rack, it'll move it. But yeah, just make sure you find the proper equipment before you get the property. Doesn't mean you have to have it the moment you're on the property. If you're coming in the winter like us, you got a snow blower or snow shovel, and you don't have a big driveway, you'll probably be fine. And you'll probably do all right. If you're in an area that doesn't get a lot of snow and the grass keeps growing, better get that lawnmower or brush hog or tractor sooner than later. One of the mistakes we make is we buy some animals at auction. We don't buy them from breeders. The reason why is because we're trying to save money. We try to buy the best animal possible. And we have at times have had issues. And those have been deaths, or they've gotten really sick. We've had about three to four goats die. And a lot of times they're younger, or they come to us sick. And we know when we buy them, well, that's the chance we're going to take. Hey, we've had success. Todd the Toggenburg, which is probably going to leave the homestead soon. When we got him, he was near death. And we were able to get him back to good health. So, it's a mistake, and it is a mistake. Buy from good breeders if you can. If you can afford it, usually costs more. But if you're buying from auction and you see that Holstein or Jersey calf, it can be done, but I'd tell you to steer away. They're pulled from their mothers pretty quickly, so don't do what we did and buy one and have it pass about 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later or days later. When you buy an animal at auction, if they don't let you back to see it, be a little skeptical. We always knew that you couldn't go back. Like, they always have signs, you're not allowed back, you're not allowed back. Talk to one of the workers and say, hey, what do you have for goats? Hey, what do you have for sheep? Hey, what do you have for feeder cows? And they'll usually let you back in there. Take a good look. Because when they're in those rings and you're bidding, you want it, it's yours. You can't go down there to pick it up and say, whoa, look at all these issues. I'm not paying for it. It doesn't work that way. It's yours. So, we've never made that mistake, but we have. We bought $5 for $5. She was in not the best shape. She was pretty much blind. She was limping, but we took her in And we were able to bring her back to health. She had a lot of warts on her. We fed her good feed, gave her good mineral. We dewormed her, a few other things, and most of the warts went away. She lost the limp. She has never grown as much as she should, but she's still in much better health. So the mistake we've made, and try not to make it, is buying an animal that is going to go downhill. We never know. Some of our healthiest animals can go downhill or can be dead in a day. It's happened to us. But that's a mistake we've made, is we didn't go check the animal close enough before we purchased. All right. Another mistake we made, but we didn't make. Guardian animals. We have a guardian Jenny donkey named Jenny. Original, isn't it? And we bought her and she's skittish. She's still skittish to this day. Some people said she would turn around. She never really has. But she's a good donkey in the sense of she's just skittish. She's scared of people. I mean, not to the point to where she runs away from us, but like she really doesn't allow us to hold her and grab her in the sense of her halter, and not necessarily grab, but just hold it, tie a lead to her and brush her out. I'd like to be able to brush her out. I would like her to be able to have that kind of bonding with us and with our kids that are on the property. That is something that she really doesn't allow us to do. Is it a mistake? No. She does protect our sheep pretty darn well. She is a good warning system. But yeah, we should have got something that we could be around right away in order it kind of took to us instead of being a little skittish from us in the beginning. But on that note, you know, anybody's looked at the old videos where the mink attacked and killed a bunch of chickens, whatever. There was nothing we could have done really on that. We could put them in electric fencing, poultry fencing, electrify it. The mink probably would have gone through it anyways. They are driven. They're driven to kill. Same if it was a weasel or a fisher, which is much bigger. Bobcats like that. At that point, we need a guardian dog, and that has been the talks. But it is a necessity. It kind of comes into that infrastructure. So I'll leave it at that. So we've made some guardian animal mistakes, but it's not necessarily a mistake. We've had unfortunate circumstances and some other things. And on a quick note, behind me, storage for hay. If you're going to have livestock, make sure you have infrastructure storage for hay. But you already know that because I talked about having enough infrastructure. All right. Other mistakes we made while homesteading. Messes. We're not the most organized couple. We're not the cleanest couple. I'm sure we can point fingers at each other about it, but go in and try to get everything in line to begin with. All your fence posts by a certain area. All your electronic stuff by a certain area. All your feed by a certain area. We have all that. But it's a mess. And we're not the best at cleaning up after ourselves and this and that. But that's one thing that you need to do. And learn from my mistake of not being the cleanliness person. And not being organized. Is that right? Where is he at? Is that right, dumb picklehead? Maybe not. Okay, another thing to learn from my mistakes is I think I'm out of them. I make mistakes every day. I make mistakes a lot. So be prepared to make them. You're gonna make them. It's okay. You will get through it. You will get by. Just keep working at it, and things will come together as you find your pace and where you need to be. You'll know how much to take on and how much not to take on. And that is one of the biggest things. But you're going to fail. You're going to fail in certain areas. You can watch any YouTube channel, and a lot of them don't talk about their failures. They don't talk about how the roosters crow in their videos all the time. They don't tell you about how many times the cows get out, or the sheep get out, or the goats get out. They get out a lot. Don't think that you're failing. You're doing fine. You'll learn. It's not a mistake. They learn how to do it, and they learn how to push you. And you just find a better way to keep them contained. Now, before I part ways, there's one thing I like to say. If you're going to rural living and homesteading or farmstead, one of the biggest things you can do, and one of the very first things you can do, is make friends with your neighbors. Introduce yourself, but if you're really out in rural areas, they'll introduce themselves first. They're going to pull in that driveway and see you for the first time, and they're going to introduce themselves. You're going to get Christmas cookies. You're going to get things. Be prepared for that. Because you know what? When you're out here rural living, they have you and you have them. And that's one of those things. It's like there isn't a lot of neighbors. You just don't go down the cul-de-sac to hang out at your friend's pool. It doesn't work that way here. My nearest neighbor is a quarter mile away. Well, about an eighth mile away. They have another neighbor about an eighth mile away. I'm kind of like in the middle. But those are my two neighbors. But then my next neighbor is a half mile. In fact, the rest of my neighbors are at least a half mile or more farther away. Motorcycle. But make friends with those people, because storms happen, and you know what? They might have a piece of equipment or something bigger that can help you. You have a freak blizzard, trust me, those are the people that probably have the tractors bigger, or they might have some snow plows that you need because your piece of equipment isn't big enough. They might, or you could have the bigger equipment and they don't. So you can help each other. So that's the one thing we did do. That's the one positive thing and mistake we didn't make. We made friends with the neighbors pretty quick. All right. I wish you well. I hope you have a great homesteading future ahead of you. If you decide to do it, if you don't, I get it. A lot of people watch these things just to see how other people live. And they dream, but they don't believe they can do it. But I like to tell you, you can. If I can do it, anybody can do it. All right. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'll try to put out some more videos about mistakes we've made here in the future. And I will talk to you later. All right. Bye.